everyone. Welcome to African Women in the Diaspora with me, Ngozi Jason. You know what we're all about in this podcast. We like to talk about African women who are doing great things in the diaspora. And today I have a young lady, fantastic young lady, very industrious, very hardworking. She has a passion for young people. She has a passion for African people in general. Her name is Susan Oduride. Susan is an entrepreneur. She's a founder. She's very multifaceted. I'm just going to allow Susan to introduce herself by herself. So, Susan, thank you so much for coming here today. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
We're so
so
happy to have
much.
you here today. We're so
Thank you.
happy to
Thank you
have
for
you here
having
today.
me.
It's
It's
been
a
a long
pleasure.
time coming. We've been planning this
Yeah.
for a while. So I'm really happy that you took time from your really busy schedule to join us today. So, Susan, tell the woman watching here today, tell her who you are and what you do.
All right. So my name is Susan Odurinde, and I like to describe myself as a multifaceted and resourceful individual with diverse passions and gifts. And for a while, it was a bit challenging because I always thought I had to just focus on one thing and one thing alone.
Hmm.
So over the years, I've realized that there is room to express as many giftings that God has given you. So I like to say I'm a founder of Cactus Tech, and basically leveraging my technology and business skills to develop solutions for the education sector in Nigeria and Africa at large. And this is because I'm very passionate about Africans taking their place in the digital economy. And unfortunately, our schools are graduating students that are not ready for the job market of today. Talk more of
Hmm.
tomorrow. Right? So
Hmm.
we're building solutions for that. I also am founder of Susan Mudge Consulting. I help professionals and entrepreneurs to take charge of their careers and business by equipping them with tools and strategies to thrive in the global space. I like to think of myself as a global citizen because I went to the university in the US. I worked there for a while. Then I've worked in Nigeria. I've also lived in Canada for a little while. So I always come with a global perspective to things. And that's
Hmm.
how I help my clients. And then also I'm a coach. So I do career consulting as well. I help professionals to not just take whatever the job market is offering them, but actually position themselves to take the kind of opportunities they want for themselves, especially Africans. And then
Hmm.
I also speak. I actually haven't always been vocal, but over the years, I've learned that you have to embrace your voice and speak up for yourself because no one else will. And
True.
I also
True.
find that being able to speak actually makes room for others as well, not just myself.
True.
So that's how I would introduce myself. Thank you.
Fantastic. I like what you said that you have not always been vocal because I used to be like that too. I used to be a very quiet person. I never wanted to be in the limelight. I was like that until my 20s. Then
Mm.
people started helping me, but I was still a little bit, I don't want to face the camera. Let me just be behind until 2020 when I attended a coaching session and then the coach there made all of us go live on social media. And that's how. So I get that. And you said something again that when you speak up, you're not just speaking for yourself, you're actually advocating for others.
Yes,
So that's fantastic.
exactly.
That's a really good way to look at it. You're not actually doing it for yourself only, you're doing it for others. Because when others hear you, they'll be inspired
Mhm.
to do that for themselves or to do something even better for themselves.
Yes,
That's fantastic. And you said something. You said you consider yourself a global citizen. I love that because
yes.
I also consider myself a global citizen. So your move, you've lived in Nigeria, you've lived in the US, you've lived in Canada, and now you're back in Nigeria. How, living in these countries, how has it shaped your ideology, made you who you are today?
Okay. So definitely one thing that it has made me see is that life is not limited to where you are. There's a
Mm-hmm,
whole lot
mm-hmm,
happening in the world. And
mm-hmm,
so it gives me a perspective that is not local, meaning that whenever I do things, I'm not thinking of just where I am. I'm thinking
yes.
of where other people are and how they would see it. Right. So it makes me strive for excellence. Because, I mean, as Africans, as a Nigerian, there's this tendency to just want to do things and let it be okay. I call it the let my people go syndrome. Like we just do whatever and let it go. It's okay.
Mm,
All right.
mm,
But no, as someone who sees herself playing on the global stage, I see that
yeah.
different people from different backgrounds. We'll get to interact with whatever I produce. And so it has to be something of excellence so that no
Mm.
matter where they are in the world, they won't say, oh, it's this African girl that did it, or and that's how Africans are. No, I see myself playing on that global stage. And so I always strive for excellence to ensure that no matter where anyone is, once they interact with myself or whatever that comes from me, it speaks well. And I'm representing my continent well.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm inspired. I'm inspired. So you mentioned that you're very passionate about technology in Nigeria's education. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit more about that?
Yes. So interestingly, now it's the idea kind of started when I went into the university at first. So I graduated
First, was
university.
your first degree in Nigeria or the US?
It was in the US.
Your
And
first
there's
degree.
actually an
Okay.
interesting backstory to it, which I haven't
Tell
shared
us.
on platform.
Okay.
So I grew up in a Christian home. I hold my Christian values very highly. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was writing my jam, unfortunately, the center I wrote my exam in, the whole center they cheated. And I
Mm.
refused to. Yes, I refused to. And the invigilators were upset at me. An exam that was supposed to take 4 hours, they cut me off about an hour and a few minutes midway, and they were like, who do you think you are? Why must you waste our time? Don't you have parents? Where are your parents? Other people's parents have sorted them out. And so I didn't
So they
finish.
wanted you to pay them or what?
Yes, to pay them. Yes. So when I finished, I knew I had failed the exam. Like,
Mm,
there's no way.
mm,
So I went home crying,
mm,
right? Mind you, I don't know where I came from, but I've always been passionate about Nigeria. So
mm,
I always dreamt of, and by the way, I was always dreaming of being a mechanical engineer. So I never thought of schooling abroad. When other people talk about, oh, they want to travel, that was not my thing, right? So when I spoke to my parents, I was crying out of
mm,
annoyance. My dad was like, "You will go to any school in the world." Mind you, just a few years before, he had moved my siblings and I to a cheaper school because
mm,
challenges financially.
mhm,
So, anyways, that happened, and I knew I was going to spend a year at home. So during that year, I started applying to universities outside Nigeria.
mm,
And I also was planning on rewriting my jam. I got admitted into one and I didn't have money for tuition, right? It was a challenge, but we were working towards it. My parents were excited. I think they were even more excited than I was. Me, I was just planning to write jam again.
mm,
So I told God, I said, God, if you provide my first year's tuition, I will know that this is you and I'll go.
mm.
Because I was not very looking forward to leaving home and going to
Nigeria.
a faraway
Yeah,
land.
all by
Yeah,
yourself. Yeah.
so anyways, miraculously the money came from somewhere we were not expecting. Someone just offered and paid my first year full. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, I guess I have to go then. So I went to school. So and I ended up studying computer science. So at that time, my dad had been trying to dissuade me from mechanical engineering, but I wasn't hearing. So he had someone speak to me. Have you considered computer engineering maybe? The world is
Mm,
going digital.
mhm.
Then technology wasn't as much as it is now, where everybody's trying to get into tech. It was not the thing, right?
Yeah.
So I thought about it. I was like, okay, maybe I can do computer engineering. Okay. So I ended up going for computer information technology. And I remember my very first year in school. It was
Mm,
tough. I had
mm.
come from an education system where we were learning computer science in notebook and pen,
Exactly.
right? Drawing computers on the board. And then I was now in a computer science degree at
Mm,
university. People who they already had some knowledge. In fact, some of them had done some AP programming, right? So I was like, okay, this is a problem. And unfortunately, I was lagging behind in class. I had to take extra lessons with my teachers. Thank God they were very graceful about it. So
mhm,
it was
mhm.
tough. And I was like, okay, when I'm done, I need to figure out a solution for this. And I just tucked it away. Right. So, anyways, after several years, I went through school, I got into job market, and I realized that even companies were looking to hire even outside America because there was a high demand for tech
Mm,
talent. There was not supply. So I knew I wanted to work in that space. Although I didn't know I would start my own company, I always thought maybe I would team up with some people and work on stuff
mhm,
like that. So that's where that passion came. And then COVID happened, as we all know it. The world went remote, and just growing in this space, I realized that actually we need to fix our education sector, because there's statistics that show now that by 2030, which is just about 5 years away, Africa will make up
Mm-hmm.
40% of the global world population,
Mm-hmm.
like youth population. And that
Mm-hmm.
speaks even to the workforce, because it's young people who work. If 40% of the world's workforce is coming from Africa, and Africans are not even equipped with the skills for today's work, that's going to be a
Mm.
crisis globally.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
just going to
Mm-hmm.
be a crisis for
A
Africa. It's
worldwide
going to be,
crisis, not just
yes,
for
it's
Africa.
going to be a
Mm-hmm.
worldwide crisis. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
where the passion came from, and was striving to build solutions to um, make the education sector better. And I like to think of it in a holistic way. I know there are a lot of organizations now that do boot camps, trainings, upskilling, which is great. Like, it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to get to the root cause, which is the primary, secondary, tertiary education. Work with the traditional education system, not just building solutions that meet people after they are done with school. So that's
Yeah.
very passionate about the education sector in Africa and Nigeria.
So is there anything you've already started doing with the primary, secondary, and tertiary schools in Nigeria?
Yes. So
Okay.
what we've started doing is we've started working with parents to provide tech education for kids as little as 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it's not when they are older that they get to interact with all of these things.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
currently, my business partner and I were working on ways to actually work with schools directly.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's any educator out there that's listening, I'll be happy to work with you. We're currently reaching out to schools to see how we can work with them, help them with their infrastructure, help them with training their teachers. And interestingly, actually, just 2 weeks ago, the Ministry of Education put it out that they have now updated the curriculums, the
Mm-hmm.
syllabus that schools are using, to also include digital literacy in primary and secondary education, and also to include things like advanced programming and AI to senior secondary education. So
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing how we can leverage those to work with schools, because I mean, it's one thing to put out a curriculum, it's one thing, another thing for the educators themselves to be prepared to implement that curriculum.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the thing you do? Because you mentioned about when you went to school in the US and
Mhm.
then you also lived in Canada. Can you tell us about your Canada experience and how that has also shaped the things that you're doing today?
Okay. So um living in the US was I would say was good. I enjoyed my time there. The people, at least in the cities I lived, because I know people always talk about racism and all that. I didn't never experienced such.
What cities did you live in the US?
And so I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is where the school I went to is located. It's also known as a Christian state, so maybe
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why. And then when I graduated, I also lived in Texas. And I know Texans are
That's where many
open to
Nigerians live in.
Yes, yes, yes. So after school, transitioning into the job market was a bit challenging. I won't
Mm-hmm.
lie,
Mm-hmm.
because I would go through first stage, second stage interviews, I'll do well. But once employers found out that, oh, she's an international student, they just back off, because they assume
Mm-hmm.
that most likely you would want them to file. So because I
Mm-hmm.
studied STEM, I have 3 years work permit as a STEM graduate.
So
Others,
sorry, let me cut you short before you continue. Why
yeah.
don't they like fighting for people? Does it cost them money or is it stressful?
Yeah.
What's the reason?
So it's a legal process and it costs them money. So basically, for
Okay.
an employer to file for you, they have to prove that they can't find a citizen to do that job, and they have to
Yeah.
involve a lawyer. And then the expense is on them, not on you,
Okay.
legally.
Okay.
So they shy away from it. But I was like, at least I have 3 years at work permit as a
Mm-hmm.
graduate in STEM. Why don't
Mm-hmm.
I just use that? But it was
Mm-hmm.
challenging. I even had people tell me, "Oh, just take any job and just do with that." I was like, "No, I haven't spent all this money going to school to
Going to
just take any."
school. Yeah.
I even
Yeah.
had some people pitch arranged marriage for me, because so many people do it where they just have
Mm-hmm.
some existing uh marry them and they get
Mm-hmm.
papers, but that's against my values and my faith.
Yes.
Navigating that season, got to learn what works and what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I was able to get a really good job at a hospital in Texas. In fact, when I told them I was leaving, they were not happy. They wanted me to stay, but I was like, my time here is up. I knew my season there was over. And then also, maybe like about a year and a half, 2 years later, I moved to Canada. Although I come back to Nigeria for a little while, but I moved to Canada because during my final year in the university, my entire family had moved to Canada. So they were already
Mm-hmm.
filing for me to come and meet them. So
Mm-hmm.
it worked out that it came like about a year after I left US. So I went there. Now,
Mm.
I think the Canadian job market is actually even tougher than
Yes.
the American one
Yes.
to
For
immigrants.
immigrants, yes.
Yeah,
Canada is quite notorious.
tougher. That was when I learned that there's this whole thing called Canadian experience. You have to have
Mm,
Canadian experience. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? I have the skills, I have the knowledge. The job description literally states things I've done several times over the years. So trying to navigate that was tough. I would say, I think I spent about 6, 7 months trying to get a job. And initially, I didn't realize that there were off and on seasons in the job market. So I had come towards the summertime. And
mhm,
apparently, because a lot of people go on vacation, employment is low, right? So I
mhm.
had been struggling trying to get a job. I wasn't getting interviews. I thought I was doing something completely wrong. But
Yeah.
eventually, I worked with a recruiter who explained the job seasons to me, and it made sense because after that I started getting a lot of interviews back to back. I
Mm,
actually got a temporary job through her, and I was hoping to get a more permanent job, and I got some offers from her, like companies that she had recruited for. But unfortunately, when I would get the job offer, they were offering me minimum wage, and I was like, why are they offering me minimum wage? I mean, I have years of experience in this. And she was like, well, you don't have Canadian experience, so at least just use this one to get Canadian experience. But I'm someone that I know what I want and I don't
mm,
settle. That's something
mm.
that, by the grace of God, I've been able to develop over the years. I don't settle as long as I know that I have the backing of God. I'm not going to
Mhm,
settle. So I
mhm.
declined the offer. And to some people, it seemed like a bit stupid because, like, I
Yeah.
mean, you need a job,
Yeah.
right? But I declined the offer and I continued searching. I adjusted some things. One thing I learned to do was that in interviewing, I didn't make it obvious that I was an immigrant anymore.
Mhm,
So I changed the way I was doing storytelling during my interviews. So it
mhm,
wasn't obvious that I was an outsider, right?
mm,
And so eventually I got a really great job with a far, far better offer and
mhm,
great working condition. And the people I worked with, they were awesome during my time there. So that opened my mindset to see that there's actually ways we are to position ourselves in the job market.
mm,
And that also opened me up to offering career services to people, because especially Africans, because I am trying to push for Africans to take our place in the global job market. With the statistics I mentioned before, there's room for us, right? There's a lot of room for us, but how we position ourselves, the skills we have, they matter. So on one hand, as we're building solutions for the education sector, on another hand, there is a way to prepare people to position themselves for the global job market. Because
mm.
I've worked with my previous job um that I just stopped doing at the beginning of this year. I had worked with a boot camp that was doing trainings for people both in the US and in Africa, preparing people for tech
So
roles.
you're run a boot camp for training. Okay.
Yes.
Just hold on with that thought. Let me just give a message for our sponsor today. Today's
Okay.
sponsor is called Also Yummy. Also Yummy is they make products, skincare products for African skin, especially when you live abroad. You know, the Western weather isn't very good for African skin. So if you want your skin to look nice and supple and fresh, use Also Yummy. Also Yummy, they make products, they make facial oil, they make shea body butter for the body. They have shampoo, they have conditioner for the hair. Also Yummy. You can get in touch with Also Yummy via email at hello@alsoyummylife.com. That's hello@alsoyummylife.com. Or you can send them a WhatsApp message +234 8033220920. WhatsApp message +234 80330920. They ship to anywhere you are in the world. So if you have black skin and you live abroad, So Yummy is the skincare product for you. Right. So tell us about the boot camp, Susan.
Okay. So I worked with a boot camp that basically was offering trainings in tech. So think
Mhm,
cybersecurity trainings, full stack web development, data science, and the likes. And they had wanted to enter the African market, right? To start
mm,
offering training. So I basically led operations here, and it was easy for me to accept the role because it was in line with what I wanted to do, which is like upskill people in the tech space, right? So doing that
When you
job,
say of
I
school
also
people, is it people of any age or is it generally
yeah,
young people?
so it was people of any age, but we mostly had young people, young professionals who were
Hmm.
looking to transition into the tech industry. Now,
Okay.
working in that role, I also got to interact with other organizations trying to collaborate and solve the same problem. And one thing that was recurring was that people were getting these skills, but they were not getting the jobs. They were
Yes,
getting the
that's very
skills,
true.
but
Very,
they were
very
not
true.
getting the jobs.
Yes.
And interacting, seeing it on the inside, I could see why people were not getting the jobs.
Mm,
They had the skills, but they were not looking strategically for jobs.
mm-hmm.
So as someone who is in Africa, you are already at a disadvantage, unfortunately. Even though
Unfortunately.
statistics show that the world needs us right now,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, there's a bias towards Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
there are ways you are supposed to be positioning yourself for these jobs that these
Mm,
people are not doing.
mm,
So, first of all, documenting your learning journey, having portfolios. So many of them also didn't have LinkedIn accounts. And
mm.
if you are trying to access the global job market today and you're not on LinkedIn, I mean, you are doing it wrong because
Say it
that's where
again, I
you
beg, for the people at the back that are not hearing you.
if you are
Say it again.
trying to access the global job market today and you're not on LinkedIn, you are doing it wrong because
Mm-hmm.
that's where employers from all over the world are. That's where
Mm-hmm.
they are actively looking for
Mm-hmm.
talent. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
statistics say that 89% of recruiters, when people apply, they go on LinkedIn to check them out. So if you're not positioning yourself those ways, if your CV, I mean, I can't even begin to, oh my God, the amount of CVs and resumes I've seen, my eyes are seen. And I'm like, even me, I can't hire you. I'm sorry, I can't. So seeing that, it made me understand that this is a problem, right?
Mm,
You are getting the skills, but you're not showing me that you have these skills and I should hire you, right?
mm-hmm.
And also there's no storytelling because the job market is saturated. And I say the job market is saturated not because there are not enough jobs.
Mm,
There's actually a lot of job in the job market. The job market is saturated because the same set of people are applying to the same set of jobs. So
yeah.
imagine, there's a statistics out there that most people spend 6 to 8 months actively looking for a job. So imagine
Mm,
that you and 1,000 other people are trying to get a cybersecurity role. All of you are going to keep applying to every job that pops up.
mm-hmm.
How do
Mm-hmm.
you stand out? How do
Mm,
you make an employer say that, okay, I want to interview this person? And
mm,
then when you get through the interview, how do you make them say, wow, I would love to work with this person? So I saw that lacking, right? I saw that gap. And that's kind of also what tilted me to start offering career consulting on a larger scale. Because previously I had just done it for friends and family. But I saw that, okay, this is a huge problem. People are getting upskilled with tech skills, but they are not getting the jobs. Why are they not getting the jobs? It's because they are not positioning themselves properly for those jobs.
okay. You said something that they have the skills, and they can actually do this work, but they're not putting themselves out there. And you mentioned storytelling and you mentioned
Yes,
standing out. How do you
yes.
help them with their storytelling? How do you help them stand out?
Great. So I like to tell people I work with that as human beings, you have to understand that we are relational, right?
Mm,
We thrive on relationship.
mm.
And even in the job market, right? People would rather work with someone they know than a
Yeah,
total stranger. That's
yeah,
why
that's true.
referrals are still a big deal today.
Mm,
And it looks like, oh, you have to know someone to get the job. You don't have to know someone to get the job, but you have to connect with someone to get the job.
say it
Meaning
again, please. Say it again, so we can understand.
you don't have to know someone to get the job, but you have to
Mhm.
connect with someone to get the job. What that
Mm,
means is that you may not know anybody in the companies you're applying to, but you need to start
mhm.
making connections with people in those organizations. So
How?
there are
Like, tell
two
us
ways of
how. Mhm,
storytelling. The
mhm,
first is that document your journey. I
mm,
LinkedIn is my preferred platform, but you can.
mm,
Some people have done same on other platforms like Twitter or X as
mm,
they call it now, and Instagram, right? But document your journey. Tell the story of your learning journey and your upskilling. Tell the story of the skills you've gained and how you've put them to practice by just writing, making posts about maybe a problem you solved, right? Write that out and make a post about it. Or a challenge you faced and you are still struggling with, you can ask for help. Once you are documenting like that online, recruiters love to read people's story. They want to know you even before they interview you, right? That's one way of it. The second thing is even with your CV, your resume, too many people they just write, I did XYZ. I did XYZ. I was responsible for, I was doing this one. I did this one. That's not storytelling. Anybody that did the exact same job will say, I did this, I did that. Let there be a little story behind this of how when you joined this organization, you shifted them from where they were to where they are now. Maybe as you did your job, you increased client happiness. You can even share a little bit of and in your resume and in your cover letter of how you had great feedback from clients that you had worked with, how maybe
mm,
your boss gave you great feedback, right? That's storytelling to show that you are not just a robot. You were not just
mm.
doing, I did that, I did this. You had an experience going through that job, so you are telling your story. Now another way is when I talked about connecting with people, you don't have to know someone, but you need to connect to get the job. Connect with people working in the organizations that you are interested in.
On
Let them
LinkedIn, right?
LinkedIn, yes. Let them see the work you are doing. And you have to speak up. Speak up by sending them messages. People are actually very nice online. They are ready. I mean, the whole reason
Especially
for
on
being on,
LinkedIn. Especially on LinkedIn,
yes,
I've discovered that people are a little bit more open on LinkedIn.
yes, because the whole reason for LinkedIn, because people think that LinkedIn is just a job platform. No,
Mm,
LinkedIn is first a social media platform. It's a
mhm,
social media platform for professionals, but it's first a social media platform, meaning people are
mhm,
there to connect, right?
mm,
So connect with people in the organizations you are interested in. I'll give you an
mm,
example. One of my clients earlier this year, actively looking for a job, right? So started applying these tips of connecting with people
mhm,
that are in the companies. They were very open. And it's not necessary, you don't have to connect with the recruiters themselves. You can just connect with someone working there. Ask them questions about the organization. What do they
mm,
enjoy working there? What is life like in that company? People care when they know that you care about them and what they do and their company and
mm.
all that.
And they'll respond.
Yes, they will respond. Now, eventually she got an interview with this company. And guess what?
So
The
did
person
she do this before applying?
She did it while applying. So when she saw the job, immediately she started connecting, sending connection requests, and then she applied. Then when she
Mhm,
saw that they had accepted her connection request, started talking to them. She didn't mention that she had applied immediately. She just
yeah.
started asking them, I saw a role in your organization. I'm interested. I want to know what do you enjoy working there? What is it like
Mhm,
working there? And all that. Do you know anything about this role? And eventually, when she got the interview, the people she was talking to, they even told her,
mhm.
prepare to answer this kind of questions in the interview.
Wow. In fact, these things you're saying, you're not making me feel like applying for jobs because this is fantastic information.
Yes. Yes. And guess what? She got the job. She
Wow.
got the job. Right? So it's very important for people to connect with you on a human level. That's why storytelling is important. Because storytelling
So, sorry,
shows
let me
them
cut
that,
you short then. When you're talking about storytelling, is it
yes,
on their bio on LinkedIn or their postings, their posts on
it's
LinkedIn?
everywhere. It's everywhere. From
Okay.
your LinkedIn bio to the posts you are making to conversations you are having. You know, when you are
Yes,
talking to
very
people, you are
important.
telling some story about the kind of person you are.
That's true. That's true.
Yes. So it's in everything. Not just too many people are applying to jobs just to check it off. That's why I find it funny when I see posts that say, I applied to 1,000 jobs, I applied to 500 jobs. You are doing it wrong.
Mm,
The job market is so tough. I've been applying for months now, over 1,000 applications, and I've not gotten anything. My dear, you
mm,
are wrong.
mm,
People are not
mm,
connecting with you. They don't know who is behind the application. And that's
mm-hmm.
why you are struggling.
Mm,
So that's where storytelling, because human beings, we are biased. We are.
mm-hmm.
We like
True.
connecting with
True.
people. We like
True.
we like to know somebody. We don't
Yes.
we it's just natural, right? So
Mm,
once you make the bias to be to your advantage and not to your
advantage.
disadvantage by telling your story, you are
Mm,
standing out already.
fantastic. Fantastic. So, with this, do you also help Nigerians and Africans to get global jobs outside their home countries?
Yes, yes, I do. So, I said it earlier that the world has opened up more to remote work, right?
Yes.
And Nigerians are brilliant, very
True.
brilliant, very brilliant. In fact, at the beginning of the year, there was an entrepreneur in the US that reached out to me that he was looking for some talent,
Mm,
tech talents, right? So I was able to reach it within my community, and he was looking for a rare skill. Was looking for people
mm,
that were blockchain developers. I don't know if you
mm.
are familiar with blockchain and crypto and
A
all
little
that.
bit. Cryptocurrency and the rest
Yeah.
of them. A
So
little bit, yeah.
there are a lot of programmers, but not many of them are into blockchain because
Yes.
blockchain is kind of still new technology.
Yes.
So I was looking for specifically those skills. So I reached
Mm,
within my network and I found a few people, right? And I interviewed them initially before I brought them to him and his
mm-hmm.
own developer. And
Yeah.
when they were done interviewing, the feedback they gave me, they were so impressed. They just kept talking about how these people I brought are so talented. The lead developer was like, "Are you sure we'll not hire two people now?"
Mm,
Because they were just looking for one person, but they were very impressed. So those jobs are there and
mm.
people are looking for talent. So yes, I do help people get global opportunities.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So now I'm going to ask you a question outside the professional world. So
Yes.
you lived in Nigeria, you went to primary, secondary school in Nigeria, then you went to the US, went to university in the US, stayed for a little bit,
Mhm.
worked there, moved to Canada, worked there for a bit, and then now you're back in Nigeria. Why are you back in Nigeria? And do you ever plan to go back to the US or Canada or anywhere else?
Yes. So why I'm back in Nigeria, one of the main reasons is because I want to build in the edtech space, right? And I know some people build from the diaspora, right? But
Mm,
everybody's journey is different.
mm,
And like I said, my faith plays a big role in my life.
mm,
So at the time when I wanted to start building, God started leading me back to Nigeria. It
mm,
was tough at first because everybody thought I was crazy. Like, why
mm,
would you want to live a comfortable life?
mm.
I mean, it has not actually been easy. I'm not
I
going to
can
lie.
imagine.
It has
I can
been very
imagine.
challenging,
Mm,
infrastructure deficit and all that. But I knew that I was supposed to build from here.
mm,
Now, some people build from outside, which works as well. But for my
mm,
own journey and for what I wanted to do, I knew that I was supposed to build from here.
mm,
And since I've been back, I can understand why. I
mm.
can understand why. There are certain things that people who are living outside won't understand because the realities are different. right?
Mm.
So I'm fortunate now I have a co-founder now. Initially I was doing it on my own, but now I
Mhm.
have a business partner. She's lives in the US. We went to school together, interestingly, and we had similar passions. I had worked with her on some things she had done years back in
She-
Nigeria. Yes, she's Nigerian too.
Okay.
So now we are doing it together. But
Mhm.
there are certain conversations we'll have that I'll have to explain and throw light on because she's not seeing it from the perspective of someone in
Yeah,
Nigeria,
exactly.
right? So, but because I'm on ground, I
Mhm.
can see certain things that someone outside can't see. That's the
Mm.
one thing. The other thing is outside just building in the ed tech space. I have always been passionate about young people,
Mm.
right? So back in the day, I actually had an organization called um, Comfort Nigeria, where, and this I was doing while in the US, I would connect with other young people to talk about our value system. We would have conversations about basically conversations around values and patriotism. And we actually did 2 outreach to secondary schools back then. One, I came physically and I did it. The other one, they did it on my behalf. So I've always been very passionate because I believe that the change we want to see needs to start from the young people. It's easier to mold young minds.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yes. So I had been doing that. But moving back, I actually got opportunity. I got offered to work with an NGO that was doing something similar but on a larger scale,
Mm.
right? So now, over the last 3 years of working with them, I'm now country director of that organization. It's called Light Out High School Initiative. We
You're now one of the
basically
directors. What did you say?
I'm the country director. So basically, I
Wow.
lead all outreaches and engagement with secondary schools.
Wow.
So far, although it started in 2017, I joined in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So far we've reached over 24. We've held over 24 outreaches and engaged over 33,000 young people,
Mm.
and the impact is evident. Like, for
Mm.
example, last year we got a partnership with the German consulate to do like a recycling campaign to
Mm.
schools, basically advocating for change, climate
Mm.
advocacy, and then also still infusing our values that we preach, because we want people that would come out and build society.
Mm.
So we did that outreach and we went back recently, and the school premises was notably cleaner. Like, it was like night and day. The students now properly dispose their waste, right? And they now have a mindset of how they would contribute to society, not just Nigeria is failing and nothing is
Yeah,
working.
very
Now
important.
have this
Yeah.
mindset that we are the ones that will build the Nigeria we want to see. So being
Mm.
on ground is what gave me those opportunities. There's no
Mm.
way I would lead operations at that scale and do outreach to secondary schools if I was not in Nigeria.
That's true. With that, let me ask you another question. This work you're doing with Nigerian children who live in Nigeria or Nigerian students who live in Nigeria, do you have any such plans to work with Nigerian children who live outside Nigeria?
That's interesting. Aside the tech education, I've actually not thought of that, but I think that's a great angle to look at it from as well. Because
Mm.
I've seen I know the story of a few Nigerians who grew up abroad and came back, and they are making
Mm.
significant difference in the Nigerian society today. So
Yeah.
I haven't thought of that yet, but now you're giving me something to think about.
Yeah, because the reason why I'm saying it, I teach online Igbo classes to Nigerian children who live abroad, because I've noticed that our Nigerian children, especially the Igbo children, I'm not sure about other children, but the Igbo children, many of them don't even know where they're from. They know they're
Hmm.
Nigerians. Sometimes they don't even know their state. So what do you say? I think you're from Anambra State. I think you're from Enugu State. They don't know their clan, their local government area, their town. They don't know all these things. I want to see a future where Nigerian children who live abroad have this patriotism in them for Nigeria. Yes, you live in the UK, US, Australia, Canada, whatever.
Yes.
Yes, you are probably a citizen of those countries, but your
Yes.
parents came from somewhere. I want them
Yes.
to have this dream that I want to do something in Nigeria. I want to help to build Nigeria. Let's not give all our resources to the country that we're living in now. Let's leave some,
Mm-hmm.
save some for Nigeria. So that's why I asked that question. So maybe it's something you should
That's
think about.
Yes, it's something I would definitely start thinking about. It's something very important because these Western countries, how do they build their society? They take the best of the best from all those other countries and they take
Exactly.
them to their place.
Exactly.
That's how they build. That's why they
Yes.
have all these exams you have to write to be able to immigrate there. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have certain skills and knowledge. They don't just take anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they are
Mm-hmm.
taking the best of the best and it's making their society better.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, living like a brain deficit back home.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
something to think about.
Okay, so think about it and then let me know whatever God tells you, and let me see if there's anything I can contribute to it. And then to my final question, you need fully answer the question of what brought it back to Nigeria. You mentioned the first reason, you didn't mention the
Yes.
other reason.
Oh
So
yes. So the second reason was marriage as well. So I I I knew I was supposed to leave the US in 2021. So when I
mm-hmm.
left and I came back, I started looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Now I grew up in Port Harcourt. I was born in Port Harcourt. I grew up in Port
Pitakwa.
Harcourt. Yes, I say I'm a Port Harcourt girl because people when they meet me, they can't believe I'm from Yoruba. I'm actually
Mm,
from Yoruba, but I'm also a Port Harcourt girl. So I
mm,
ended up in Lagos. I got a job there, right?
mm-hmm.
And when I got the job, it didn't take long. I met
Mm,
my now husband.
mm-hmm.
And I say it's a divine arrangement because at the time, marriage was not on my mind. I'm just going to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. All that was on my mind was, I'm coming to change Nigeria. I want to make a difference. So that was what
Mm,
was on my mind. But as God will have it, I met my husband and things moved very fast, right? In fact, when I was leaving the US, I had so many people tell my parents, your daughter is going home because of man. There's one man that is whining her there. Meanwhile, there was nobody. There was nobody. I was not talking to anybody. I didn't know anybody, right? So, but anyways, I met my husband and things moved fast and we did our introduction before I went back to Canada, right? So we knew we wanted to get married. There were suggestions of him coming to Canada, but my husband
mm,
also interestingly had never seen himself living outside Nigeria. That was one
mm,
of the first things that intrigued me about him when I started talking to him and I would ask him of his future and all that. But my husband is a very, very intelligent person. And I'm not saying it to brag. Anybody that's got to interact with him are always like, man, your husband is
no, but
brilliant.
you are intelligent, so you should marry an intelligent man. You have to marry an intelligent man.
Yeah, so he's an engineer and he has
Mm,
passion for automobile. So all he has
mm,
always talked about is building an automobile in the automobile industry. Although currently
mm,
he works in oil and gas, but on the side he still does his automobile. So that's what he was just talking about. You know how like mechanics abroad, they are schooled, they're educated, they know what they are doing. Whereas here they just learn it on this roadside. But when
yeah.
he works with people's car, there's a difference. I'll give you an
Mm,
example. Recently, we had a program in church, and the one of the pastors that came to preach, when it was time for him to go back to Calabar, he had driven from Calabar to Port Harcourt. His car had issues.
mm,
So my husband checked it. They discovered it was a fuel pump and all that. Within a day, he got the part, fixed everything. The man
mm,
called back that he doesn't know what they are paying my husband where he's working. But he needs to go and open his automobile shop because since he fixed his car's issue, the
mm,
fuel consumption had dropped 60%.
mm,
60%. So he's skilled, right? And just like me, he's passionate about Nigeria, although probably I'm more passionate because sometimes he says I'm the one keeping him here. I know he's joking, So meeting him and getting to discover that he himself was not really didn't really fancy living abroad. Like that's not
mm,
where his mind was. So we were
mm,
at first saying, okay, maybe he should come to Canada when we get married, looking at everything. But seeing how God planned everything, we're just like, okay,
mm,
let's start in Nigeria, right?
mm.
So I ended up coming back. We got married, and I had mentioned he lived in Lagos back then. I
Yeah.
told God, like, God, I'm coming back to Nigeria again now, and this time for the foreseeable future. But I don't want to live in Lagos. Like, I don't want to live in Lagos. I don't like Lagos. The stress there is too much. And as God will have it, he got a job offer from Port Harcourt that he had not applied for. Someone just reached out to him, told him to apply
Imagine.
for the job. He got the job. So we that was another confirmation, right?
Yeah.
That okay, this is
Yeah.
where you need to be. So
Mm-hmm.
that was another reason that I'm back. I got married and we are building our family here for now. Wherever God leads us next, we'll see.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Susan, it's been, if not for time, I have so many other questions to ask you, but let's not make this interview too long so that people won't be too bored.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I've been so inspired by everything you said, especially when you said that you're a woman of faith and everything you've done has been based on the leading of God into,
Yes.
when you moved to Canada, when you left the US, in fact, when you went to the US, when you left, then when you moved to Canada, you left, you came to Nigeria, and this is where you need to be for now until God leads you again. I'm always very happy when I see young people like you who are truly sheep of the shepherd. It's always
Yeah.
so wonderful to see, because really, if you're a sheep and you don't follow the shepherd, then that means you're going to get lost at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I started learning this thing at my old age, in my late 40s. That's when I started intentionally following the shepherd. So I'm always happy when I see people, young people, teenagers in their 20s, even in their 30s, who are Christians and who are following the shepherd. You can
Yeah.
never go wrong. You can never,
Yes.
even when you go make a mistake, you pause yourself and then listen again, and then he will bring you back to where you're supposed to be. It's fantastic. And then one more thing, you have a program in the month of November. Tell us
Yes, I
a bit
do.
about it. That's the last thing before we close.
Yes. So as I mentioned, I offer career consulting services for
Mm-hmm.
individuals and in group settings. So in November, I'll be having another career accelerator program geared to help people access global opportunities, especially immigrants. Because I
Mm,
find so many people that immigrate just end up doing survival jobs.
mm,
And yeah, there's actually better, but you just need the right guidance, the right coaching, the right
mm,
support, accountability to access those opportunities. So in November, I'll be starting a 3 month accelerator program geared towards helping people land their dream jobs by January.
mm.
Yes. So and you can join the waiting list right now. All you need to do is you can send an email to me at susanmojconsulting at
Can you spell the
gmail.com.
mode?
Yes. So it's SUSANMOJ. Susan
Okay.
Moj Consulting at gmail.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can find me if you search Susan Odorinde or Susan Olagoke, I'll come up. I'm the only one bearing that name, and it's easy to find. Just search Susan Odorinde or Susan Olagoke. Olagoke Daniel is my maiden name, so I still bear
Okay.
it on LinkedIn with Odorinde, and
Mm,
you get to connect with me and you can join the program. There's a screening process though, because I've
mm,
met people who say they want XYZ job, but there's a huge
mm,
skills gap, right? So I need
mm,
to screen you. And then if I see a huge skills gap, I can then advise you on what steps to take next and a roadmap
mm.
on when you can actually begin to target those opportunities. But yeah, thank you.
This global job accelerator program you have, is it just for people in the tech industry?
No, 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 it's not. It's for everyone and anyone. So,
Mm,
regardless of what industry you are in. So, for
mm,
example, one of the participants in the last cohort was a lawyer that migrated from Nigeria to Canada, and
mhm,
she wanted to still maintain working in the legal space. And
mhm,
I mean, people were telling her, I'll just get anything, do
mhm,
healthcare,
mhm,
caregiving,
mm,
purity. No, she didn't want that. And
mm,
fortunately for her, we had just around the time she was looking, we started the program. After a
mhm,
few months of struggling on her own, when she joined, there was a
mm.
dramatic difference. She went from not getting interviews to getting a lot of interview calls. And she actually got offers that she turned down because they didn't meet her criteria. Because part of what we work on with you is your mindset and your
Bam.
value,
Like
right?
you say in
Because
Nigeria, bam. Exactly.
a lot of people sell themselves short, but
Yes, yes. Because they are
because
afraid that
yes,
that they might be asking for too much.
yes. A lot of people sell
Mm,
their short because of that. So we had worked
mm,
on the mindset as part of the program. So the
mm,
offer she got initially was not meet what she wanted. So she turned it
mm.
down, even though she really needed a job. In fact, I
Yes.
remember when she turned it down a few weeks later, we had our call. I was asking how she was. She was like, And she doesn't know. She's hoping she picks back up because she's feeling a bit down. I said, don't worry, you will get something. Are you not still getting interviews? She said, yes. I said, you will get something else. And within 3 weeks, she got an offer that was far, far better. And she got the job. So now she's still in the legal space in Canada, even with the no Canadian experience that people talk about. So it's
What
open to
if
everyone.
if someone who lives abroad already, but is also looking for jobs outside the country where they live? Maybe they want to do some remote work. They're
Yes,
like, I live in the UK now, and maybe I want to get a job
you want
in, like, let's
opportunities
say
in
the
that.
UAE or the US or something, but I want to continue
Yes.
living in the UK.
Yes, we can do that as well. Yes. So
Mm,
basically, the whole idea is positioning yourself as a global talent. That's the idea.
mm,
So you can be anywhere, getting any role. The most
mm,
important thing is for Africans to take themselves in the global job market. I can work
mm,
with people that are not of African descent as well. I have,
mhm.
but
Okay.
I'm more interested in people of African descent. But I'm also
Mhm,
open to people
mhm.
of other nationalities. The reason I say African is because I know the pain point. I'm African myself.
Yes,
I've the
yes,
journey, right? So
yes.
it's easier for me to support in that sense. So yeah. But it's open to anyone, anywhere, wanting better opportunities for themselves.
Fantastic. This is the longest interview I've ever done. Almost 1 hour. My interviews, I think my longest interview was with the founder of Nigerian Women in the UK. It was about 47 minutes or so. And I told her it was the longest. Now you are the longest. I've never done this long before. Just 3 minutes to 1 hour. Susan,
Yeah.
it's been a complete joy having this conversation with you today. You are such an inspiring young lady, and I'm so happy that you follow after the heart of the Father. I'm just so happy
Thank
about
you
that.
so much.
You have a lot of things you're doing. I'm so happy that you're passionate about African people, women, children, young people. I'm really happy about that. Thank you so, so much for coming to join us today. And I hope that if we invite you
Pleasure.
again, to talk more deeply, because there's really so much to talk about what you do. We might just decide to have a part 2 so I can go more deeply into the things that you do and how you actually help people, Africans in the global space. I hope if we invite you again or when we invite you again, that you'll be open to attending another interview with us.
To be an honor. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm very grateful. I don't take any platform for granted. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to share a little bit about my story with other African women in the diaspora. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. So you've heard her, you've heard Susan. And if you are an African woman who lives in the diaspora, I have a story to tell. It doesn't have to be a fantastic story. It could just be that you came here and you had your child within 1 year. You had nobody to help you take care of your child. But now your child is a year old or 2 years old or 3 years old and nobody has died and everybody is healthy. That is a wonderful story. That's a win. That's a victory. Whatever story you have and you'd like the world to hear it, even if you want to do it anonymously, please feel free to send us an email at ngozijason1@gmail.com. That's ngozijason1@gmail.com. Send us a mail and then we'll take it from there. Thank you again, Susan, for joining us today. God bless you.
Bye. Thank you.